Hi and welcome to Indigo Starfire. My name is Bevin, and in this video I'm going to be doing love notes from your person. This is going to be a message cards only reading, and there are 3 groups to choose from. Group 1 is the Amethyst. Group 2 is the Aventurine. And group 3 is the Rose Quartz. So if you want to take a moment to center, focus on your breathing, and feel whichever group, maybe multiple groups or perhaps all of the groups that you're most drawn to, I'll give you a minute to make your selection and then we'll get right into it. And there are timestamps in the description box of the video for each group if you would like to jump ahead. And up next is a close-up photo of the crystals to help you better make your selection. Hi, Group 1. You chose the Amethyst. So I'm going to be getting 3 cards from 3 different decks, and let's see, what does your person want you to know right now from their higher self? Okay, and they say I've looked into tarot readings, so this can be a confirmation for this person, maybe watching pick-a-cards, perhaps even just speaking to somebody who is highly intuitive, somebody whose wisdom that they value if they have not actually watched a pick-a-card reading or purchased a personal reading regarding the situation with you. This is a sense of thinking outside of the box or seeking resources as far as, again, input from somebody who might be older, wiser, somebody well versed in kind of the language of the heart, matters of emotion, kind of conveying sort of the circumstances between the two of you, reservations or hesitations that your person might have about whatever the nature of your circumstance looks like currently, and kind of steps to take moving forward, rather than just relying on their own kind of intellect, or even in a process of kind of making a head versus a heart sort of decision. There's a sense of almost a stalemate within themselves and a need to gather other resources, seeing the connection or trying to view the connection at this point in time from a wider lens that they might not ordinarily use as kind of a tool for evaluating their next steps forward with you. So this can tie into an awareness of a deeper layer of soul connection between the two of you, where what they are feeling or any sort of struggle or stumbling blocks that they may be facing currently, their usual methods and tactics for problem solving are not working in this situation. Or there's a sense of, in order to sort of carry things forward, maybe this is returning with some kind of an apology, some kind of an explanation, or if it's somebody you're still in contact with, sort of, again, thinking outside of the box before elevating the situation to the next level, having some sort of big conversation, something that they have been in the works with for a while or have been considering for a while. This can be a confession of feelings, some sort of, an offer or a proposal in a variety of ways, or just a deeper level of kind of opening up, letting you see a side of them that has been hidden or is not ordinarily brought forth into connections. And rather than thinking of it linearly or emotionally, there's a sense of almost intuition, getting a lot of signs, seeing a lot of synchronicities, downloads, dreams, things that again are not part of kind of the typical sort of five senses way of them navigating through the world. So they're clued in to some level of a deeper part of this connection, the highly kind of spiritual aspects of this in terms of thinking of you and sort of the long-term potential. There's this idea here with kind of ascension on a personal level, and also maybe even a bit of kind of nervousness as far as if they take the next step towards you, or something that they are sort of mulling over kind of how to present, that this not only opens the door to a new chapter or reconciliation or kind of a broadening of your connection, but there's a sense of them maybe even having a loose kind of comprehension that in some way it's beyond kind of the mundane, that it opens the door to greater access or exploration of kind of these higher levels of connectivity between the two of you. If there's a lot of telepathy, a lot of deja vu going on, there's a sense of kind of like, okay, if we take things further, certainly this will expand and this will be enhanced, and how do I navigate through this? How do we navigate through this kind of portal moving forward in our connection? They also say I've been more focused on money because I'm trying to build for myself. So this could be a very practical person. They are used to thinking about things in kind of a black and white fashion, and it feels like the feelings related to you or this connection overall has provided a flash of color in their life that was quite unexpected. It's something that they have not experienced before in connection or in a while in connection. So it definitely ties into this idea of having to use outside of the box methods to determine, how do I move forward with this? Practically what's possible between the two of us, but then also factoring in this kind of otherness that may exist between the two of you, this highly spiritual aspect. This can also speak about a period of time where they are really evaluating within themselves and kind of what do they really bring to the table, not just in terms of, ways in which they're able to kind of provide for you in this situation or provide for themselves and present kind of this equal playing field, some kind of reciprocity as far as creature comforts and material needs. Emotionally, what do they bring to the table? But it also feels to tie into this idea of energetically, spiritually, what is it that they bring to the table, or at least their attention is headed in that direction, rather than this just being like a checklist or more of a transactional nature of thinking and weighing the pros and cons about, do I move forward with this person? Do I return to this person's life? What is our future with one another? There's a sense of outside of the box elements, things that are not ordinarily a factor or a consideration when it comes to matters of the heart or partnership, which it feels to tie into this idea of maybe seeking counsel or advice from somebody that they know that's highly intuitive, somebody that's kind of older and wiser, whose opinion that they respect, maybe even watching pick-a-card readings to try and feel out and gauge sort of how receptive you are to them, where things are at with you before they sort of take this leap of faith forward into the unknown in this situation. Or for some, even having gotten personal readings regarding your situation, which for them that might be not their usual approach when sort of dealing with matters of the heart, or dealing with people that they've got feelings for, or determining kind of how to move forward with things. So you've definitely affected them on like a higher vibration and in an uncommon or common or extraordinary way compared to what they are used to experiencing and how they navigate through matters of the heart and partnership. And they also say, I keep a close eye on your social media. So this is that Page of Swords energy, watching from afar, really trying to feel you out and gauge kind of, are they ready for what comes next in this situation? If this is related to, a person where there may be deep conversations that are yet to be started, or feelings that have not been revealed. There could just be a lot of unspoken chemistry between the two of you, or you've been kind of grounded in a connection that's at a certain level and they're ready to accelerate things forward, or to give you more access to their heart, to their emotional space, to making those intentions, those long-term plans known very clearly and very plainly. There's a sense of sleuthing, thinking outside of the box, kind of circling the perimeter of this in a way that is hopefully not detectable, although some of you may kind of get the feeling that they are sort of snooping around, kind of looking at your energy or looking at this situation from a lot of different angles, bringing to mind the idea of like the Hanged Man and kind of the fly on the wall perspective. A sense of anticipation, pressure, tension, visceral chemistry in the sense of something big that wants to be unleashed, something big that wants to kind of come forth and be brought out into the light of day. And yet your interactions with them, it's just kind of, it never comes to that point of full revelation. And this can be that kind of confirmation for those of you that feel that energy. If this is somebody that you're dealing with, or even somebody that you're in separation from, and you can kind of feel them lurking around in sort of the outskirts of your energy, or feeling those kind of watchful eyes on you from this person, you know, energetically, or you may have even gotten little sort of crumbs or signs that they've kind of left on their social media, letting you know that they've got their eye on you. They're you know, directing attention that is you know, maybe kind of indicating interest in circling back around, or you know, interest in something more between the two of you, that there's a sense of almost preparing themselves to take some kind of plunge, to step outside of the box, and how they're used to dealing with love and partnership, how they've been used to dealing with you in this connection up to this point in time, wanting to make sure they have all their ducks in the row, that they've done their research, that they've done their planning, that there's almost no stone left unturned. And it feels to tie into kind of the nature of the bond between the two of you, and also the importance of what comes next, wanting to make sure that whatever this is, this element of investment or deepening your connection with one another, that it comes in a right time when you're both comfortable with it, that it comes in the best manner where there's clarity, there's transparency, there's a, you know, a clear and decisive picture as far as like, this is what they have to offer, this is what they want out of the situation. Does this match kind of your expectations? Can the two of you meet in the middle and sort of strategize and plan how to explore kind of this uncharted water, this untapped territory between the two of you? And they also say, I keep dreaming of you. So feels this is, again, heavily on this person's mind, to where it occupies their waking hours, and a lot of fears that they may be sort of dancing around within themselves, maybe coming up in the form of dreams. Almost a sense of, for some people, that there may be sort of these almost like nightmares that come up of you with somebody else, them kind of missing a window of opportunity, or even kind of meeting with you on the astral realm and having these conversations where they're speaking their truth, they're saying what's on their heart, everything that they've been sort of thinking about, scripting, looking at from all these different angles that they have not yet brought forth in a material sense. It's open season there in that dream space. So you might have even gotten dream communication from this person recently. They're showing up in your dreams, you know, conversations that are being had, them energetically or kind of literally turning up in your dreams. And that can be this confirmation of, you know, you are heavily on their mind. This is kind of energy of, you're the last person that they think of when they go to sleep. Some of them even are, it feels like, intentionally trying to set that intention of almost like astral projecting to you, you know, sending these kind of loving energies or attentive energies, something trying to almost just operate as a placeholder while they're in this process of kind of figuring out their next move forward. It's the idea of like, don't forget about me. I'm still here. I'm still interested. I'm still working my way through our current dynamic with one another so that we can evolve, so that I'm ready to evolve into something more with you. And this also ties into the idea of they really see you as wish fulfillment, as a dream come true. And with that is kind of this added pressure of trying to perfect things within themselves, or just really kind of bringing in these different resources that are not ordinarily part of their consideration as far as navigating matters of the heart, because this connection matters. You matter. Whatever that next step is, whatever that looks like for you, there's a level of importance here that, you know, if they want to kind of make this dream come true, ground down into material reality, then it's gonna take some extra effort or some extraordinary effort, some kind of dexterity on their part as far as what they say, actions that accompany these promises and words, making sure they don't kind of over-promise and under-deliver, making sure that it kind of comes about or is delivered in a manner that it's as close to good timing as is possible for the two of you, and also being very mindful, it feels like, of themselves, of the fact that this connection, this bond, these feelings that they have for you, this is sort of calling forth a version of them that has not typically shown up in matters of the heart. And so it's a lot of pressure that they're putting on themselves to try and really look at this from all angles before sort of bringing something forth into the light of day. They also say, I'm taking time away so I can understand my feelings. So that's a confirmation of really, thinking about this, marinating on this. If your person feels a little bit distant or cold, this can definitely indicate that it's not for a lack of interest. It's that they've gone very much within. They may be very much in the headspace and kind of just scripting things out, weighing the pros and cons, again, kind of maybe so torn between the heart, which is wanting to move towards you, and then the mind filled with kind of fears. And what if it's, too little too late, if this is a reconciliation, or if these are kind of fresh feelings or the next evolution forward between the two of you. What if you're not receptive to the same thing? What if they're rejected? What if what they have to offer or show of themselves or give is kind of not what you're looking for? If that's not enough to sort of sustain or feed or contribute to the manifestation of the next layer of your connection with one another. It's all these different factors here. Hopes about this being different from kind of matters of the heart gone sour. Fears about what if this is just a repeat of a cycle or pattern that they have been in love before, which it feels like is kind of why they're sort of bringing in outside counsel, outside help or advice, or some kind of a perspective by way of somebody that they're communicating with, some sort of trusted friend or advisor, or pick a card readings, tarot readings, maybe even personal readings that they've gotten, or if this is somebody who is skilled at divination themselves, they may have pulled some cards, they may have used a pendulum, they may have been kind of like praying about this, asking for signs, seeing a lot of those synchronicities and really kind of researching that, looking into that, giving this a depth and kind of weight of consideration that is not their typical way of moving in matters of the heart, which is, it's adding, it almost feels like a level of kind of excitement because it's so different, and then it's also a degree of pressure because it's so different from how they are usually answering that call of the heart, or responding to feelings, or kind of action steps forward in sort of other matters in their life. And they also say, would you be willing to open up to me? So there is a little bit of a fear of rejection, especially if this is something where feelings have not been discussed of this nature before. So if this is like a friendship or a newer connection, someone you're just dating and they are in the process of kind of opening up and revealing they have feelings for you, that the feelings run deeper than both of you have openly discussed. Maybe this is even that, I love you, as in more than just a platonic sense, kind of a conversation, that there's a pressure to perform. There's a pressure to kind of get the timing right. There's a sense here that they can't keep this truth closeted within themselves, and so that feels to be as well why they're kind of like in the Page of Swords energy. They're sort of watching, trying to read into your energy, trying to read in between the lines of things you post on social media, or interactions with one another, and really trying to feel things out as far as how receptive are you to them, and sort of taking things to the next level. How happy are you with the current dynamic in the situation? If this is somebody that you're in a no contact situation with, then also it's the idea of kind of like wanting to return but not being sure. Would you have them back? Do you still still have affection for them? Are you seeing anyone? Are you available? Have you moved on? It's all these different kind of questions. And understanding as well that whatever the dynamic, whatever the nature of that is, and what a next step forward or an evolution would look like for your personal situation, there's this energy here of almost taking that to some degree that's like long haul energy. This isn't just I want to pop back in and start to have these conversations and then disappear from your life again. Or, I'm wanting to open up and express deeper feelings, or start to make plans moving forward, and then kind of close back off just as suddenly or quickly as I've kind of divulged something. So there's a degree of personal preparation on their part. This is a necessary, almost stage, it feels like, for them taking some sort of a leap of faith. It's evaluating and almost coming to a place where they're ready to close any doors of doubt, and sort of move into a different version of them in terms of love and partnership, or the dynamic between the two of you that is sustainable in the long term, trying to kind of quell their fears as much as possible and move forth in the energy of confidence, so that whatever happens, whether you're receptive to them or whether this is something where they're rejected, that they're able to at least know that they've acknowledged their personal truth. They've given it their all. And then from there to be able to, whatever, based on whatever that response is, to navigate accordingly in kind of whatever that new or redefined or potential kind of horizon or future is that is opened up based on kind of their actions forward. And they also say, I am afraid to open up to you. I don't want to get hurt. So another confirmation there of like a fear of rejection. If this is someone from the past that wants to come back, is considering that. There's a sense of, is it too little too late? Have we kind of had our season with one another and that is concluded? So that can be a factor of consideration that can lead into sort of looking around or thinking about this from all angles. But if this is someone that you're dealing with, they're also currently and kind of in a connection with, or you're friends with, or you're talking to, or whatever that looks like, there's a sense of them really facing and confronting wounds of the past, and wanting to make sure that cycles do not repeat themselves. And in the essence of doing that, it's almost that this person is being very proactive in terms of taking a different approach to you and to the situation, maybe even based on the nature of your bond or the intensity of that bond or the feelings, checking in with themselves and really kind of taking personal ownership of their shortcomings in previous relationships. This almost feels to be something that in the process of trying to find a way forward towards you, towards something more in this situation, they are also, by having to face these things within themselves or look at this from all these different angles, they're also, as a byproduct, consciously or unconsciously, healing and closing out a lot of wounds and weightedness that might have existed within them. There's really a need to kind of face things that have occurred, the residue left behind from love gone sour, how they've been showing up in connections, something about this bond, is asking for kind of next level effort and attention on their part. And so with that comes the sense of sort of like, what have I given in the past? What are kind of the parameters within myself in terms of the capability and nature of what love means, what is required in love? And kind of going beyond that as far as accelerating this situation forward, or being able to participate with you in kind of the next layer and level of what they're wanting to really instigate or kind of bring about, and kind of what's required within them to be able to feed into that or participate with that in an equitable and measurable way in the long term. So they're kind of like healing and stepping into a different version of themselves, a more kind of well-rounded, self-assured, confident. It's all these different kind of things that it's tying into the element of sort of the time that this person is taking. It's not in vain. It's actually really, this situation is motivating them to almost step into that better version of themselves than what they've been occupying or what they feel they've been occupying, who they have been in relationships in the past. And so kind of the more time it takes for them to come to a place of comfort and well-roundedness, it really feels that what they'll have to offer it's solid. It brings substance with it, because it's not just clinging to fears. It's almost looking at things from all angles and really bringing different qualities and energies into the situation. Having to really confront some things, some shortcomings within themselves, some fears within themselves, to bring something forth that is practical, that is meaningful, and that is sustainable in the long term. So, the time that they're kind of preparing, it's ultimately sort of serving whatever comes next in the situation. And they also say, I just need some space and time. Please don't take this personally. I love you. Yeah, so definitely a lot of introspection at this point, personal preparation, really considering and thinking about more of a broad future between the two of you than has been on their mind up to this point in time, than has been discussed up to this point in time. That idea of I love you, this can be what they're, getting ready to kind of bring forth. And not just with the intention that these are 3 words that are dropped on the table and then things get awkward, but it's almost like this is a conversation that takes place, followed by other conversations about I love you. How do we advance and evolve this situation? How do we cement this down into something that is in keeping with the core essence of what we've established with one another up to this point in time, but that is also very dynamic in terms of its growth potential, in terms of blossoming into the next sort of way of dealing or interacting with one another, kind of nestling into one another's lives in a more substantial manner. Taking something very casual perhaps and making it more official, or if this is someone from the past that's trying to sort of do a little bit of personal growth before they come back towards you. It's the sense of love that they might not have been ready for before, the intensity of the connection, or something where it was almost like the grass wasn't greener on the other side, or absence made the heart grow fonder. That this is something where they've kind of discontinued a process of perhaps running from you, and there's now eyes that are fixed on the notion of returning, but with something measurable, with like an openness of heart. If they weren't ready before, they're preparing themselves. They're ready on a certain level, and then it's a matter of kind of bringing these other layers of who they are and their life into alignment so that they're able to present themselves in a way that breaks free from cycles and patterns you've been through with one another in the past. And they also say, I wanted to reach out and speak to you, but I always hold back. So that's that confirmation of someone kind of dancing around in the shadows and sort of the outskirts of your life. You may have felt them energetically, or, again, they're like popping up in the dream space due to all this attention on you and the situation, even if it's silent in the material world. The sense of being these words or this conversation kind of being on the tip of their tongue. There may be times where you would almost sort of felt in your dealings with them, okay, it feels like they're gonna say something. There's something going on energetically here. It feels like it's either going to be make or break time. This might have led to a lot of kind of anxiety on your part, a lot of unknowing. Are they getting ready to dump me? Are they getting ready to take things to the next level? Are we drifting apart, or are they getting ready to kind of dive in deeper here? And so, this is tying into this idea of a lot of like pressure and tension that is put on this, because they really want to get this right. This feels like it's very big energy. This is a leap of faith in a direction that either that based on sort of what you have with one another, they're putting a lot of importance on this in terms of whatever this next step is. It's with the intention of now we are paving the road toward like a long-term or the ultimate future with one another, or it's a nature of kind of like feelings and emotions that are very deep, very unexpected, maybe came on very suddenly, or that they weren't planning on kind of having for you so quickly or at all. It could be something as well where they have had this intention to open their heart and be receptive to kind of whatever might develop. And now that it's here, it's time, they're feeling this nudge to sort of take things to the next level. It's an essence of, I value and respect what we have so much that I want to try and get it right in a lot of different ways, as far as opening up to something more, blossoming out of the beauty of the situation we already have with one another. So I'm going to get some initials, and this can be a first, middle, or last name of you or this person, or could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Okay, we've got G, P, O, M, X, C, E, K, O, A, N, T, S, and V. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer them through my Etsy shop, and there's a link to that in the description box of the video. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters, including a longer video version of this reading that involves more cards and more decks. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers if you're interested in checking any of those out as well. And I've launched a second channel here on YouTube, which is called Lady of the Dawn Tarot. There's a link to that in the description box of the video, as well as in the channel section of my page. The format over there consists of readings related to topics other than love and romance. So if you're looking for something a little different from me, that is the place to find it. I thank you for your support there, as well as for your continued support here on this channel. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 2. Chose the Aventurine. So I'm going to be getting 3 cards from 3 different decks, and let's see, what does your person want you to know right now from their higher self? Okay, and they say, I really hate not communicating as much as I want to. So you and this person may be on a little break. You might have had a fight or disagreement, or even just life circumstances have gotten in the way. And so the constancy of your communication has diminished. Maybe a lot of kind of stress and pressure based on other things going on, or something within the dynamic to where the warmth, the very kinetic kind of intimacy established between the two of you, there may be elements of stress or distress, or just a lot of heaviness that has kind of invaded the peace that the two of you may have had with one another before. And there's a sense of really longing for the simpler times with you, longing for the experience of just being very open, very free-flowing in your exchanges with one another. This can even tie into something where deep feelings have developed within this person for you, but with that is almost a triggering that has also occurred in terms of wounds as far as love and partnership that have risen as a result of things in their past. If there are obstacles internally or externally in one or both your lives that kind of stand in the way of developing things further, or kind of make interactions with one another difficult or challenging. There's a sense of frustration that may have caused them to sort of pull their energy back, pull their level of communication back, really feeling very kind of bound from giving the fullness of what they hold inside to you and this connection. There's a sense here as well of kind of retreating back into themselves to soul search, to contemplate the next words that they want to bring forth. Some level of honesty, even if there are challenges in this situation. It's a sense of, I want to discuss these things. I want to start to find a way through these things. I don't just want to settle for these blocks and barriers as set in stone. This is how far we go with one another. But if these are things internally within themselves, kind of retreating within to sort of start to deal with those fears or that wounding that is kind of preventing them from trusting fully in their feelings, investing more in this situation, receiving the love you have to give, or if these are external obstacles that kind of limit the nature of your communications, the depth and intensity or frequency of these things, or kind of the options as far as the road that is available for the two of you going forward. There's a sense of almost kind of retreating within themselves to evaluate, what do I need to clear out of my life? What space can I make on my part in order to facilitate things evolving in this situation? Am I ready to take that step? Am I ready to, kind of remove these obstacles from my reality, internally or externally, in order to make more of a clear path for this bond to build, to intensify, to resume, or to start to be healed between the two of you? They also say, give me a chance. So again, if there's some kind of distance between the two of you, something where they've kind of retreated within to think, their energy may have gone very cold, and it could have left you with a lot of questions. What happened? Things were going so well, and all of a sudden, they've retreated within themselves. This is tying into an element here of they're not running from you in this connection. They almost feel like, for a lot of people, are strategizing or kind of in a place of planning a pretty big leap of faith forward, pretty big decisions as far as certain things that may need to be cleared away or sacrificed out of their life, hindrances and blockages, things that may have almost been like a protective armor, or that were sort of literal obstacles that were kind of there, things that are outside of their control, and kind of this element of, wanting to invest more in this situation with you, but either needing to let these other kind of factors play out, needing to create some kind of plan or strategy forward in terms of eliminating things from their life that in some way are a direct contradiction to what they want to develop and grow and experience more of with you. And so they may be keeping a lot of that to themselves, or even just very withdrawn into themselves. But it feels like somebody that's not necessarily wanting to disconnect from you or wanting to remain disconnected from you, but it's a sense of almost looking very deeply within and kind of what do they need to sort of, how do they need to get out of their own way in order to be able to pour more into the situation, to revive the situation with you, to participate with you on a deeper and consistent level, to really kind of choose and invest in you in this connection versus whatever else is kind of holding them back, or whatever else has kind of tangled up the situation at this point. They also say, I've thought about living together. Yeah, so this is big leap of faith here. So this can be, like a big conversation about, I don't want us to drift further apart. I want to do what it takes for us to come closer together. If distance is an obstacle between the two of you that has kind of led to a bit of frustration, or, just a very obvious and apparent stalemate between the two of you as far as what's possible, how accessible you are to one another, there's a lot of consideration consideration about how do we move these mountains figuratively or literally in order to sort of create more of that clear path, more of that access to one another. It's the idea of wanting to kind of repair and rebuild your bond, or to establish more intimacy or a bridge between the two of you, to where when it is kind of prudent, when it is possible, if this is sort of your communication has dwindled a bit because of other sort of life circumstances, things that are kind of like outside of everybody's control, then this can be something that where, when those sort of things play out, when those things wrap up, when that kind of cycle or process is complete and things are able to sort of resume between the two of you as they have before. This is the idea of, I don't just want to pick up where we left off. I want us to go deeper. I want us to make this into more of a broad connection than it has been up to this point in time. I want to be able to show you that where I was only able to give so much, or was only kind of able to receive so much from you, I have used this time wisely. I've used this time within myself to seek, find, and kind of clear away aspects and layers that had been preventing or hindering or blocking in some sort of manner the open flow of love and affection in this situation. Maybe even kind of big conversations as far as, taking things to the next level, solidifying some degree of commitment, but really checking within and seeing, is that internal landscape, is the life that they are living conducive to nurturing the blossoming of the next chapter between the two of you, and in ways in which it is not, what do they need to do in order to kind of clean things up internally or externally in order to be able to have something to offer that is trustworthy, that is reliable, that is conducive in a lot of ways to growing and building and developing this connection between the two of you. They also say, my life is upside down right now. So the life that they are living in obvious or subtle ways may really conflict with the idea of a future that they envision with you. If there are third-party situations involved here, then that can be kind of this element of something's got to go, something's got to reach its conclusion in order for this situation to develop further. This may be something where they're hung up on an ex, or they're very aware that they've got baggage as far as love and partnership is concerned that has caused them to kind of retreat within before kind of taking this step in the more sort of expanded or elevated way of dealing with one another. That it's a sense of, I've got to kind of clean things up, I've got to get things right, I've got to make these plans and preparations, I got to do some nesting in my life or in that internal kind of landscape, so that when I offer this cup of love, when I open up to you as far as let's take things further, or let's kind of establish more between one another than we've had up to this point in time, that the environment, the energies, the situation internally and externally is really conducive to, if you are open to this, if this is what you want as well, we have some place measurable to kind of build from that. It's not just here's these feelings, but then we've got all this cleanup work to do. So there's a sense as well of them really kind of understanding and feeling that this connection, the bond that you share, it's a safe space, it's a home. This is how affection and love and partnership should feel. And in some way, for a lot of people, this is a contradiction to kind of the other element of their life, from what love has been like before, which may be very triggering. The fact that this is so nurturing, this feels so healthy, this feels so real, it feels so good. This may be really confrontational to aspects of them that have sort of settled for lukewarm love, have been used to toxic situations, lopsided situations, codependency, narcissism, just any kind of like patterns that have been going on in their lives, any sort of addictions that are a factor, or, again, third-party situations, distance, family, culture, just, work, any of these things. They're really looking at sort of their reality, the internal and external reality, and saying what needs to be sort of shifted around, reimagined, or closed out from my life in order to be able to give more to building and expanding upon this connection with you. And they also say they know I still care for you. So for some of you, there could be a third party situation involved here. So this could be like a friend with deeper feelings, and there's a sense of kind of, are they ready, or how do they go about maybe closing out a connection with another person that may have already been kind of extinguished for a while, and it was just like two people kind of going through the motions. It is past its expiration date, but as a matter of convenience, people just stuck around with one another. A sense of even you coming into their life very unexpectedly, and the way in which things have developed, feelings have developed and blossomed, a version of this person that has awakened as a result of dealing with you, interacting with you, exchanging with you, communicating with you. They no longer fit into their old environment. They no longer resonate with kind of the vibration of partner that they had chosen before, the life that they have been living. It's all upside down at this particular point in time. And so they've retreated within themselves to say, what is of more value, kind of this lower vibration version of me that is very difficult to sort of try to mimic or masquerade as, now that I've been sort of expanded in a way by this connection, this affection, this experience with this other person? Or am I ready to kind of follow my heart in the direction of something different, something out of the ordinary from what I've experienced before? Maybe the two of you are very different in certain ways, subtle or pretty obvious, to where it could be a bit of, how do we fit in one another's world? How is this going to work? How's this going to look to other people? That element of they can even tie into, friends or family who may have judged you in this situation, may have kind of disapproved of you in this situation, or that there's a sense of kind of like, how does what we have fit into kind of the structure that I have in place, the company I've been keeping, the people that are of influence or importance to me in my life up to this point in time. And so, an element of kind of, how important are these kind of other connections versus whatever it is that they feel for you? Evaluating sort of the idea that this may be a risk to move in your direction. There may be people that, for whatever reason, or for a variety of reasons, that it could really compromise or damage certain other types of relationships that they have in their life, or to move towards you, or to invest in this situation. It demonstrates or brings out into the light of day a version of them that they've been used to sort of hiding or closeting away, or that may not have even had kind of an access point or a venue or a place where it could really be known or be accepted and kind of experience. So it's almost like a hidden version of this person that has really come to life and has found some degree of sanctuary in this connection with you, in the experience with you. But there's kind of a choice here. Where do they go? What do they need to kind of give up or shift around in their life in order to make space for investing more deeply in a situation with you? Or is the best choice to kind of stay put in what's known and familiar and comfortable, and kind of just always be left with the sense of wondering what could have happened, what would have happened if they'd taken that leap of faith kind of off the beaten trail, off the beaten path, in the direction of investing more or enhancing the partnership with you, the experience with you. And they also say, seeing you triggers me. So again, these wounds, these insecurities really having been brought to the surface. How do we fit into one another's world and landscape? Am I ready to open up to a deeper layer of commitment with a person? Maybe this person's been single for a while, or they've just gotten out of a kind of an intense heartbreak and weren't necessarily ready to take things to the next level. Maybe this is a friend who developed deeper feelings, or somebody like a coworker, for example, that, there's this triggering element of how do we cross sort of the line or the boundary of how our relationship is defined and established right now into matters of the heart, that there's a deep compulsion in your direction, but a sense of something that has to be given up or released in order to kind of flow freely in your direction, or to let love from you in more completely. And so this is a trigger that kind of, they're looking at this particular point in time. It's not just, oh, I'm triggered and I'm running. This is something that they're giving a lot of attention to. They're giving a lot of thought to. They're thinking about like living together, mending this, building this, investing in this, growing beyond this place of trigger. But in some way, it may be like a delicate matter, especially if there's third parties involved, in the sense of like another romantic connection. That is sort of, that will take time, or a conversation, or a series of conversations, or a period of kind of disentangling themselves. Maybe it's somebody that they live with, and kind of telling that person that it's over, making sure that person moves out, or they move out, and things are kind of wrapped up in that sense, to where it's not just, okay, the decision's made, I want to invest with you, and they can kind of run forward. So a lot that's happening behind the scenes, in this energy of kind of retreat or withdrawal, or something that has been necessitated as far as distance between the two of you. And it's a trigger either way. The idea of moving towards you, investing more deeply, is a trigger. The idea of not acting and kind of missing out on this opportunity, missing out on sort of the next level, the next experience, or even something very new between the two of you. And kind of this debate that they're having with themselves. Is this worth the risk and the sacrifice to go the rest of my life not knowing? And they also say, I think of you every day. That is how much I love you. So even if things are silent, cold, awkward, weird, there's a lot on their mind and in their heart that revolves around you. They're trying to find a way beyond obstacles internally and externally. There's a lot of thought about what your life together could look like in a more long-term sense, what the next chapter between the two of you could look like, consideration of sort of what needs to be done in order to create the smoothest transition forward, almost creating like a safe passage from wherever your dynamic is at with one another at this point in time to what comes next. If there's third-party situations involved that are romantic, there's this energy here of that needs to close out completely and be removed from my life completely before I introduce this situation to my life in a romantic sense. An urge to not have this carryover, or to almost have maybe some degree of toxicity kind of infect what the two of you can grow and develop with one another in terms of blossoming love, exploration of feelings, whatever that looks like. And there's a lot of thought that goes into that. There's a lot that, as much as they may be distracted by this idea of their life is upside down, you represent this sanctuary, you represent this happy place, you represent kind of who they want to be with, where they want to be. And these thoughts of kind of living together, a future, moving things out of the way, or closing out and completing things that in some way are an obstruction to this situation, externally or internally. The idea of that, being brave, almost being very heroic in this manner, things that may have, again, like long past their expiration date, needed to be cleared out. And the idea, the motivation and incentive to do that with the knowing that, like, if this is done, it creates clear passage. It creates a clear opening for something more to develop between the two of you. This fills them with a sense of joy, hope, and possibility, which it feels like keeps them coming back or invested in this sense of sort of like, what do I need to do in order to create some stability, while we are at a distance from one another, maybe out of necessity, so that when we reconnect, I have something, like good news or a surprise or something to report that's meaningful. Or if they've kind of needed to take a step back, they've been triggered. It's the idea of wanting to reemerge, but with something concrete, some sort of evidence or action that says, I've made the following changes. I'm now kind of ready to expand or invest with you further. This is what I have to offer. They also say no one else feels the same way you do. So confirmation there, if there's a third-party situation involved, that they may really understand that what has been accessed, what has been experienced with you, it has illuminated for them ways in which they've been settling, ways in which they have been selling themselves short in terms of love and partnership. Even if there's affection and love for another person, what they feel for you is something entirely different. It motivates them to do things they've never done before, to step outside of the box in a variety of ways in their life. There's a sense of deep longing and loneliness for you, wishing that things could be different, wishing you could be kind of like further along in your journey, in this element of kind of, living together, snuggling together, waking up with one another every day, and kind of looking at this period of transition or indecision or kind of tension or a bit of chaos as just a memory of the past. If this is something where they had kind of made a choice between you and another person and they chose somebody else, there's a lot of regret in that capacity. Even kind of in the idea of sort of choosing the wounding of ways in which they'd been hurt in love in the past that caused them to kind of drop the ball or miss the boat as far as investing more deeply with you, giving you clarity. That might have led to kind of a retreat from communication. There's a sense of understanding that that was the wrong choice to make, and if they could have turned back time, they would do something different. And they also say, I never knew what love was until I met you. So you have very profoundly impacted this person in a way that it feels like was very unexpected, very intimidating on a certain level. It's been triggering. It has definitely caused them to start to really look within and see kind of, what do I need to do in order to be able to move towards this person, move back towards this person, offer something more to this person so that we can build upon this feeling of love, so that this doesn't just slip through my fingers, so that I don't live the rest of my life kind of wondering what could have been, having tasted briefly or over a period of time this energy of love, this energy of sanctuary, this energy of home. And if a decision is then made to not move further in that direction, what kind of life will that be? And so this is somebody who's kind of wrestling with their conscience. They're grappling at this particular point in time. They're looking around and saying, what needs to shift? What needs to end? What needs to be cleared out in order to move in the direction of love? So I'm going to get some initials. This will be a first, middle, or last name of you or your person, or it could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Got N, Q, G, T, V, U, N, O, D, M, A, P, J, Y, W, Z, H, G, and T. So, those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer them through my Etsy shop, and there's a link to that in the description box of the video. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters, including a longer video version of this reading that involves more cards and more decks. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers if you're interested in checking any of those out as well. And I've launched a second channel here on YouTube, which is called Lady of the Dawn Tarot. There's a link to that in the description box of the video, as well as in the channel section of my page. The format over there consists of readings related to topics other than love and romance. So if you're looking for something a little different from me, that is the place to find it. I thank you for your support there, as well as for your continued support here on this channel. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 3. You chose the Rose Quartz. So I'm going to be getting 3 cards from 3 different decks, and let's see, what does your person want you to know right now from their higher self? Okay, and they say telepathically communicate with me. So there could be a lot of unspoken feelings, a lot of uncertainty in this situation. Maybe things have gotten a little distant, awkward, or weird between the two of you. And there's a sense of their higher self almost letting you know that if their 3D self, if the ego self is kind of resistant, giving mixed signals, that the higher self is very much open, willing, ready, and available to work with you, to communicate with you, to exchange on kind of that vibrational level in a way that might provide answers, might provide clarity. Maybe you're getting kind of signals, energy, dreams, downloads from their higher self that in ways is kind of contradictory to what you're experiencing in a 3D sense. It's the idea of this and that are true. This person almost feels to be sort of in a phase of kind of wrestling with something within themselves, maybe deeper feelings that they're wanting to confess, some kind of amends that they're wanting to make with you if you're in no contact with one another. And their higher self might almost be sort of leading the way in this sense. So feeling this person's energy very intently, almost as a way to kind of announce their return or kind of announce their intention, some kind of wave or anticipation of big changes occurring, things being taken to the next level. And so, to really just, if you can't speak about these things out loud, or they're not at a place of, being willing to have these conversations, able to have these conversations for whatever reason with you out loud, that higher self, that telepathy, that kind of vibrational channel is always open. So there's an encouragement to utilize that. Some of you may have really pulled your energy back from this person. You're kind of giving them their space. You may have tried to redirect your focus elsewhere. And there's this sense here of you don't need to stay so much at a distance. There's an appreciation for respecting kind of the 3D version of them and what they're able or willing to kind of give and provide at this point. But rather than kind of willing yourself into a corner of denial as you may be kind of waiting for them to sort of work through something within that allows them to be more open and explicit in what they feel, what their intentions are, kind of what their what their plan is moving forward with you, to kind of work with them in that higher self fashion to manifest kind of the next stage or evolution of your situation, or almost a sense of kind of like relying on that sort of warmth and connectedness that you feel in that sense, in the same way that you honor and respect kind of whatever that dynamic looks like at this point in time in a 3D sense. This and that are true. They also say I was in denial. So this could be somebody who has pushed their feelings down, stuffed those feelings. They may have, really kind of fumbled the ball, or kind of deliberately or inadvertently sort of overlooked windows of opportunities to take things to the next level. This could be somebody who is really kind of hung up or stuck on the idea of somebody else, and sort of missed or was in denial of the fact that what they have been seeking, kind of wish fulfillment, healthy connection and partnership, a new opportunity of love, was right there in front of them, is presented to them in the form of you in this connection. And so while they're in this process of kind of bringing themselves out of this denial, closing out some sort of chapter within themselves, readying themselves, it feels like, to approach you, to let down the wall, let down the guard, and kind of let you in a little bit more. It's again this idea of kind of, while they're in that process, don't be shy, don't be afraid to tap into them on a higher self level, on an energetic level, to work with those currents, as the 3D version of them is kind of in this process of sort of getting out of their own way, redefining kind of what might have been set in stone energies, what might have been their perception of kind of love and partnerships, what they were looking like, what a dynamic with another person, or like a past person was or is. There's a sense in many ways that you are what they have been looking for, you are what they've been calling in, you are what they have actually been manifesting, but they may have been kind of stuck on this idea of it would be another person. It should look like something else, or someone very specific that they were very certain was like, this is the one that I've been calling in, this is the one I've been connecting with energetically, this is the one that kind of fits this dynamic or label of kind of where my heart belongs. But it's kind of the idea as well with that, like, I was in denial, that they're starting to come to this place of realization that in fact you are what they were calling in, you are the real deal, you are sort of what they truly need in order to sort of feel a layer and a depth and a level of emotion that may have been lacking in their life in other ways, or another person that they were waiting on, or that they were interacting with, or kind of back and forth with, that person wasn't giving, was never capable of giving, couldn't or wouldn't give going forward in the future. So it's almost the idea of kind of simultaneously closing out a cycle regarding something, and preparing themselves to kind of move in the direction of the next phase with you. And in the interim of this, in this kind of liminal space, or this in-between time, their higher self is encouraging you to to continue to work with kind of them on that level, in order to sort of occupy that space of the timeline of what you may be sensing, feeling, and intuiting is kind of a desired or inevitable kind of next manifestation between the two of you, while they're in the process of sort of shutting out some door to the past, and kind of bringing themselves to the place of recognition and clarity and willingness to act upon the deep kind of soul knowing that this connection is what they have in fact been seeking. And they also say, I've been sending you messages in the 5D. So there's that confirmation of like their higher self really wanting to make sure that you are not distracted by the mask of this person, the 3D version of them, elements that are very resistant to this connection or to you, or still very much clinging to an old timeline or storyline. There's a sense of a necessary period of them kind of grieving and releasing something from their life, but that overall they're very forward focused in a way that they are not necessarily ready to articulate out loud, but their higher self is definitely not shy about that. Really the embodiment here of this and that are true. there is something to be relied upon as far as what you're sensing energetically from this person, what you're getting via dreams and telepathy, what you're seeing as far as these signals and these indicators of their energy participating with you in a very tactile and visceral way, as well as kind of what is shown or demonstrated by them in the material world, whether this is silence, whether this is kind of, friend zoning you, or keeping it casual, keeping it non-committal, being very sort of indecisive about things, that they're in a process of almost trying to pull themselves out of some lower realm or vibration, to just let the past go and allow themselves to evolve forward in the future. So a lot of this may be communicated via dreams and telepathy by the higher self. So if you've had a dream recently, dream communication, maybe a conversation that took place in that capacity, this can be that confirmation of like, this 3D person has these words that they are holding within, and the higher self has delivered that message while that 3D person is in the process of kind of subduing or learning to work with that ego within that is kind of clinging to some degree of denial, somebody that they were stuck on from the past, or that they've been kind of going back and forth with, not really feeling that their needs are met in some way, or in a variety of ways, and kind of closing out a cycle so that they can move more into a place of receptivity and exchange with you. And they also say, I've always seen your angel wings. So they definitely are seeing you as somebody that has a lot of long-term possibility for success as far as a romantic partnership is concerned. So tying into the idea of personal baggage within themselves, a degree of almost being in denial because maybe they weren't feeling worthy of the love you had to give, of the light that you hold inside, of, the person that you are. There may be differences in terms of your lifestyle or background or your priorities, that they were looking at the situation just from the surface, kind of denying matters of the heart and looking at the mask, looking at the package and saying, well, it's too difficult. We're too different. There are too many obstacles, kind of a connection that was very unexpected, sort of like opposites attract, or like the ultimate kind of yin yang energy. And so they're in this process of coming into this realization that rather than sort of appearances, this is something that's a bond, like between the two of you at a soul level, and this is worth investing in. This is worth moving toward. It's motivating them in a way to kind of hold their ground and to have courage in the process of sort of shaking the sleep from their eyes, closing out some sort of cycle that no longer serves them, whether this is denial due to wounds related to love in the past, somebody that they're kind of embroiled in a karmic cycle with, or even somebody that they told themselves, well, I'll just wait for this person to return, even unconsciously, that their heart's been kind of closed off or stuck on another timeline and experience, and the universe has provided them with kind of this energy of, here is something transcendent, here is something different than the vibration that you've been occupying, or different in a very positive way from what you've known in love and partnerships before. This person, it feels like, was very triggered by kind of the quality of love that you hold within, the light that you are. It is highlighted in some way, shadows within, or even kind of qualities and aspects of them that were not appreciated in partnerships before. That is exactly what is kind of needed in this situation. It's all that's required. And so wrestling with this element of the rejected parts of them finally having a home and a place where they're known, and how inconceivable that might be to their life experience up to this point in time. So it's a process of kind of unlocking these doors within themselves to allow themselves to be seen, to allow themselves to exchange with you very openly, and to kind of trust in the choreography of this situation between the two of you. These higher level energies, these higher level forces, a lot of signs pointing them in your direction. And with this idea of kind of like two cards of telepathy, it feels that they're very much feeling your energy. They're seeing the signs, they're getting the dreams, they're getting the downloads. They may, for some people, even on a conscious 3D level, be participating with that telepathy, as there's like another layer of them here in the material plane in a 5D or in a five senses kind of way, is sort of navigating through this other layer, their lower nature, or sort of internal blocks or external struggles. They're also sort of straddling that line between, yes, the higher self kind of knows that the way forward, the way home is in your direction, but they need to kind of close some things out, grieve, release, process what has kind of been their reality, their status quo, internally or externally, before they're able to sort of shift themselves and their attention completely into building and participating and kind of grounding down these 5D energies into the material plane. And they also say, I said some things to you that I'm not proud of. So this could be somebody who denied feelings for you, kind of said some things in order to kind of push you away because they had felt very triggered by the level of kind of this next level love, these deep and intense feelings, something that has a lot of potential for growth and positivity, but what must be sacrificed is kind of something which has gone very stale, very stagnant, very inert. It's expired. It's kind of become this thing that can't be revived in terms of wounds of the past, a connection of the past, a person of the past, somebody that they're currently dealing with, that it's just they've reached kind of the end of the road with this individual. And it's the idea of sort of like, okay, well, this is all that's known and familiar to me, and I've been shown, I've been offered, I have experienced something beyond what has been the narrative in love and partnership, and yet taking that leap of faith in the direction of something very beautiful, very uplifting, very positive, directly it feels like triggered or confronted some part of them that would have magnetized in these other situations that have kind of run their course. Some version of them that may have and may still feel lack and just almost settled for, sort of harboring and entertaining this idea of, maybe this past person will return to my life. Maybe they will see the light, see my worth, be able to kind of give and receive the love that I had to offer. It's the idea almost of kind of like hurt people. They may have been rejected or kind of denied the love they had to give by somebody else. And instead of kind of taking this situation with you, the appearance of you in their life as sort of their answered prayer by the universe, the one that they really should be exchanging with, it's almost the idea of kind of doing to you what was done to them, in the sense of seeing and recognizing what you had to offer, who you are, what you bring to the table, and yet shutting that down, not reciprocating with that, turning that away in the interest of kind of something more low vibrational, or even just the sense of like turning that away due to an element of unworthiness. And so with that is kind of anything that has been said, anything that is almost kind of self-sabotage, or, I don't feel worthy of the harmony that we have with one another, so I'm going to say some things, I'm going to infuse some energy into this situation that kind of rocks the boat or creates some sort of chaos and friction. So maybe then you'll distance yourself from me, you'll run, rather than me having to kind of sort of push this away, or almost somebody who just automatically sort of stepped into the role of the bad guy or the bad girl through this kind of undermining sense of like, the harmony's too good to be true, so I'm going to infuse something in this situation that brings it down to a level of what I know and what I'm comfortable with. Dissonance, lack, lower vibrations, and with these kind of higher self messages here, these kind of 5D energies, there's a part here about kind of them trying to conquer some element within themselves at this point in time, them trying to really kind of do a reality check on themselves, put themselves in check, to kind of clean up their act in a certain sort of way, because there is this, it feels like this spiritual bond between the two of you. There's this sense of kind of you're exactly what they need and what they want in their life, but there's some element of kind of like pride and ego or the past or wounding within that almost won't let them kind of move forward at this point in time into the full kind of realization and participation in what the two of you can have with one another. Nevertheless, it feels like they are actively and kind of regularly engaged in this process of kind of wrestling with themselves, back and forth within themselves, trying to kind of unshackle themselves from the past and sort of elevate themselves, or look in the mirror and really see and recognize and own this denied part of themselves that is worthy and on the same level of kind of giving and receiving in an equitable manner what you bring to the table. And they also say, I still carry a spark for you. So even if they've pushed you away or done some things to create some static, to kind of create some distance for themselves, rather than kind of admitting maybe that they were scared, that they're overwhelmed, that they feel very intensely for you, but that to honor that or to move forward towards that requires kind of releasing or letting something go. A person, a belief system, wounds, anything of that nature. Despite the fact that they've almost kind of wandered or pulled their energy back, or they're sort of on the outskirts of like a bond between the two of you, they still really see you as this radiant light. They're very much drawn back in your direction. They're pulling themselves almost in two different kind of directions at this point in time. The higher self, the soul, the heart wants to be back in your direction, wants to participate with you in this connection. The ego, pride, the wounds are kind of keeping them in the comfort zone of just like pushing this away. There's a sense here of experiences with you, exchanges with you, almost cauterize some sort of wounds that they have been holding within. There may be a part of them that feels unworthy of that. They have carried around this baggage and weight for so long that who are they without this heaviness? They've come to define themselves by a certain degree of wounding. Who are they if they become well? They also say, can you please forgive me and let go of the past? So it feels like they definitely want to come forth with some kind of an apology by way of changed action. And so that can be why kind of the higher self is reaching out at this point in time and kind of just reinforcing this energy of don't close the door to this person all the way at this particular point in time. They're in a process of kind of separating themselves or closing out from something within in order to be able to kind of flow towards you in a more beautiful manner than has been the case in kind of your last interaction or your last series of interactions. An understanding of kind of making up for lost time, or if you're still dealing with one another, if you're still in contact with one another, and almost kind of levels of intimacy or warmth between the two of you that then they may just sort of throw in some sort of static kind of energy, say something that kind of undermines or triggers or kind of pokes at you in order to sort of create a bit of distance between this almost like seamless vibration between the two of you. Almost the idea of kind of communicating or interacting with one another, being in one another's presence, and there's a seamlessness between your higher selves then that runs concurrent to whatever kind of the 3D versions of you are doing. They're very much aware of that, and that might have been something that was very triggering, because in order to participate with that further, call that out for what it is, own that and embrace that, it requires them letting go of some degree of kind of denial, lack, wound, somebody that they were holding on to maybe from the past that they've never experienced this level of closeness and connection with. As deep as that bond might have been, as much as they may have felt that there were maybe these spiritual qualities to it, it's almost like this is the real deal. This is the real situation with you in this circumstance. And it's the idea of kind of wrestling themselves out of something that is kind of clinging to the past, clinging to hope that has not been renewed or has not kind of proven to be restorative in its nature, is not of as much value and worth as what is available here, what has been experienced and exchanged here in this situation. And so it's the idea of like wanting to come back with sort of forgiveness, and they are in the process, it feels like, of closing out or letting go of something from their past. They also say, I want to be with you. I choose you. I love you. So they really do recognize that you are a connection that does not come around twice in a lifetime. You are the one that they have been waiting for. You are the person that they have been manifesting in as they have been trying to call in a deep partnership for themselves, somebody that is, like a companion, a soulmate, a helpmate, a spouse, somebody to kind of grow and evolve with, somebody to be themselves with, somebody to really experience solid and stable and healthy love with. And in the process of kind of encountering you, almost like this earth angel energy, this kind of dream in the flesh, there is a part of them that is so deeply compelled in your direction and in the direction of evolving and advancing this situation. And yet there is this element of them that is kind of existing on this past timeline in order to expand and experience what's possible here. There's a need to release and let go of something. They feel to be in this process of kind of doing that, but it's taking time. There's a lot of internal resistance that's kind of buckling these efforts, but nothing is an accident. It feels like the way this circumstance is now, it's not in vain, because the higher self is letting you know, I love you, I choose you, I'm doing my best to move all parts of me towards you. But that this is something to where they're wanting to almost come, or there's an understanding that they need to come with kind of an openness, without these kind of strings and tethers and cords that sort of tie them to a past person, a past idea of love, woundings from the past. They've got to kind of release that anchor and flow in your direction. But it's the idea of struggle with that. They're yearning for that. They're a moth to your flame. They recognize you. They feel your energy, even while the two of you may be at a distance from one another, or while they've kind of put up some barriers in this situation. They can only kind of run or deny for so long before they're brought back to this kind of core truth and reality that you're the real deal. This is the situation worth investing in. This is where their soul and their heart are compelling them towards. And they also say, I want to be honest with you so that we can be open with each other. So this can tie into confessions of love, words of love, conversations in that manner, maybe that are occurring for the first time. This can tie into an apology, some sort of an explanation as well, something where they're wanting to almost make up for words or a degree of denial, or even just something energetically where they've kind of pushed you away or put kind of a wrench in the machine of sort of what's being built between the two of you, or what you experience with one another. There's an essence here of almost wanting to provide you with some degree of clarity so that you don't think it's something wrong with you. So you don't think you're coming on too strong. So you don't think that, there's something kind of lacking within you that is just not motivating them to give more to this situation. They do in fact want to give to this. They're very much compelled in your direction. Their higher self is making it very clear, it feels like, that yes, I am drawn to you. I am intent on moving in this direction. But wrestling kind of that 3D version of them fully on board with that, releasing fears, releasing baggage of the past, that's turning out to be a little more tricky or lengthy of a process. If it were just up to the higher self, the two of you, it feels like, would be defined as something very different to one another up to this point in time. There'd be a lot more openness, there'd be a lot more clarity, as opposed to kind of like loose ends or some kind of vindication or apology that's necessary. And so it feels like they are kind of actively in this process of sort of trying to wiggle out of some degree of resistance and denial, because there are feelings here. There's this deep kind of spiritual compulsion, and kind of when they settle into themselves and they allow themselves themselves to kind of experience that energy of peace. They find you there. They feel your energy there. They're wanting to kind of make some degree of confession, or really be very kind of open and honest with what they're sort of providing to you, not just in terms of words, but measurable actions. And so kind of in this process of sort of self-mastery, it feels like at this point in time, to be able to give more consistently, or to give something that provides repair to kind of any wounding that may have been caused as a byproduct of some degree of like resistance, denial, or wounding within themselves that contradicts what's possible in terms of the beautiful and evolutionary energies that are available in the situation with you. So I'm going to get some initials, and these can be a first, middle, or last name of you or your person, or can spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Got O, R, Y, X, D, Y, H, E, T, O, S, B, and S. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer them through my Etsy shop, and there's a link to that in the description box of the video. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters, including a longer video version of this reading that involves more cards and more decks. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers if you're interested in checking any of those out as well. And I've launched a second channel here on YouTube, which is called Lady of the Dawn Tarot. There's a link to that in the description box of the video, as well as in the channel section of my page. The format over there consists of readings related to topics other than love and romance. So if you're looking for something a little different from me, that is the place to find it. I thank you for your support there, as well as for your continued support here on this channel. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well.